Hi, welcome to this tutorial on Mockaroo. Today what we're going to have a look at is how we can create large data sets for our databases. Now the first thing you notice about Mockaroo, it actually has default fields that you can use straight off the bat. So the first one is ID, which gives you row numbers. Now if you're not happy with the field name ID, you could actually turn that to something like student underscore ID, and therefore reflects more of a primary key. If you would like to see the results of your changes, it has the ability to either download the data straight away and view that as a text file, or you can preview it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce the amount of rows from 1000 down to 10. I'm going to change the format from CSV to SQL because my result will be going into a database. It gives you the table name or the entity name, so I'm going to change that to TBL students. Depending on the naming conventions that you use for your entities, this will be the table name that the data set is given when it's imported into the SQL database. And you can also include the create table information rather than having to create the table manually and then import the data separately. This will do this all in one action. So when we click on preview now, we can see a sample data set that Mockaroo has created with random inputs. So you can see the student IDs are consistent, 1 through to 10. It's then got their first name, their last name, their email addresses, and then also their gender and an IP address. Now, if you'd like to change some of the fields, you can always edit them. If I don't want their IP address, I go across to the right and just click on the cross, that would delete it. So say you want to add another field like date of birth, when I click add another field, it will copy the previous one down. I can then go across and click on gender. This will open a catalogue of fields. In here is a whole lot of fields that Mockaroo has created. So if you want to look for date of birth, you can just type in date and a date format will come up. When I select that, you'll notice that I'm now given a whole lot of options. The first thing I would need to do is change the field name. So rather than gender, I would like to call this one date of birth. We know that the start date is going to be the 30th of the 4th, 2019 through to 30th of 4th, 2020. But because we want it to be of ages of high school students, let's change this to 2005. And we'll change this one to 2008. So therefore it will generate students between those two age groups. So if this was just for a senior school where you've got 10, 11, 12, this will be quite ample. You notice it then has the format month, day, year, which is the most common format for most SQL databases. So now let's have a look at what this field looks like with our sample data. So we can head down and click on preview again. You'll notice it creates a random set of data again. So we've got different first names. Also now I have their date of birth. Now one of the best things that Mockaroo does, it allows us to create our own custom lists. So if I add another field, once again it has copied down the date of birth. I go into the date. I can then come up the top here and go custom, and I can select the custom list. Now the custom list is a little bit different. It allows you to place items in, and when it generates the data set, it'll randomly pick the item set. So let's change date of birth to house. In most schools they have different houses. So you could have something like Bradman, and then place a comma, and then you can put things like Chisholm, Helpman, Mawson, whatever the names of the houses are. So once you've finished your list, we can then go and preview the data once more. And you can see that it's now picked randomly out of that list. Now we can make custom lists for not only things such as charts, we can also add them for things such as travel time. And you can also put time in for how long it maybe takes them to get to school. So some students might take 10 minutes, some 15, some 20, some 25, right up to 55 minutes. Maybe they're coming from a long way away on a bus. And if you wanted to, you could also have when they wake up in the morning. So the wait time. Once again, it's a custom list. And this time I've put in a whole series of different times. So someone might wake up at 6 a.m, someone might wake up at 6:30, 7, 7:30, 8, 5:30 in the morning, 5, 5:45. So when we have a look at our data set now, You can see that we have a student, their email, the gender, the house they're in, their date of birth, so we could find all students born in December if we wanted to, how long it takes them to travel to school, and also what time they get out of bed. Now this is a very good tool because once we've done this, we can then close this window, up it to say 500 records rather than 10. We can go up to 1000 on a free account, and then we can go preview again. So now what we have is 1000 records. If we click on SQL, you can actually see the SQL that's created for our database. This will create the table, and then we have insert into, and then it has all the create strings to create the data for each record. Now once you've done that, you can then set the maximum amount of records that you like. So you can go from anywhere between 1 and 1000. I normally find that 500 records is ample to survey and to run queries on. So then you can click on download data. This will then download the SQL file that you can then move to your desktop and then import into your database. But if we view this at the moment, you can see that we've got the instructions to create the table. We've got the instructions to insert into. If we move across, you can start seeing the data, 1, 2, so forth. And if we go to the end of the list, you can see there's 500 records in this database. So this is ample amount of data to perform searches on. So I hope you found this tutorial useful on how to create fields, create your own data ranges, and export data sets ready to be imported into your SQL database. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also have a look around my YouTube channel for other useful tutorials on SQL and programming in PHP.